Hey there, Fab folks, and welcome back once again to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. We are joined once again by Justin from the crew running the Battle Hardened Los Angeles, talking his team's motivation for doing what they are doing. As compared to what we've seen at larger Flesh and Blood events to date, what are they doing differently in LA, and why should the community be excited about it? A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, Flesh and Blood folks. Thanks for tuning in once again. That's right, we're back talking Battle Hardened Los Angeles. So last time Justin and Joshua joined us, we were talking Battle Hardened LA and really what it was about and the fact it was community driven. And I really wanted to have Justin back and have a conversation to basically ask the why, right? So why are you and your team, like what's the problem statement? What have you guys really identified as, what's your motivation, right? There was an old Sprite commercial.
This here freight train? He Pablo, me, I'm Motif. There's only one drink fat enough to quench our thirst, and that's Turbo Sweet 7.
Cut! Genius! The can's upside down!
Don't talk to me like a child. I played Hamlet at Cambridge!
Once again, you've ruined my concentration.
Excuse me. What's my motivation?
What's your motivation for doing this, right? And the answer that he gave to me kind of offline was, we really want to do the simple things right. And I really loved that concept. So can you explain really what you mean by that and what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so when it comes to events, I think, having been to a lot of different events, whether it's for Magic, Flesh and Blood, or other games, it was, there's a lot of simple things that we thought should have been done in terms of, posting different schedules and doing different things and being really communicative as the first part to, running a good event. And we see that there's just a lack of it a lot of times when it comes to events, which is understandable because they're very hard to run. Like, to an outside perspective or outside viewer, when you run an event, it's like you book a venue, you get players to come, you pay for tickets, and then they assume that's the end of the conversation. But underneath, like an iceberg, there's like a bunch of other things that go on. Mm-hmm. Whether if you're a first-time event runner or a seasoned veteran runner, a seasoned event runner, there's a lot of things you still have to do right. So even the small things like table numbers, you have to get those right. And posting schedules and working with players and hiring judges and all those different things. So taking a step back and just saying, what do we need to do right the first time? And starting from there is like the bouncing off point is what we're trying to get out first.
Yeah, I do have to say, I think one of the reasons that resonated with me, though, is, we heard stories from, a certain event that people didn't know what hall to go to. Like, they didn't know where they were supposed to go until basically they had to ask TOs on Discord. So, is that part of the law? Have you learned from mistakes like that others have made in the past? Is that really the motivation, or is it more of like an overarching statement of we just want to improve the situation? Or both, I suppose.
Yeah, I think like for example, one of the main focuses for me as an organizer for Battle Hardened was the website. Making that very clear, having the schedule posted on there, how much is everything, when does everything start, and telling people where they can stay, what airports in the area, just being, answering all the questions I would want as an event goer. And I think when you do these events for a long time and you do them, all throughout the year in different parts of the country and whatever, it's easy to kind of lose sight of that part of it. Because it is hard to kind of nail those things down of like, you're in a different city every weekend, you're doing this. It's just like, hey, let's just put a website up and sell tickets. Mm-hmm. I think that's the main advantage of local, is that you're planted so you know the area. Things to watch out for, where to eat, where to go and how to get there. And making that a point of emphasis and using it as a strength is something that I think is really valuable from a local or like community-based perspective event.
And you guys have the passion to actually go through doing that, right, to a certain extent, right? Whereas, maybe a larger organizer just doesn't care as much, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, like we joked, during our meetings, like a lot of times when we were looking through websites of different events and just how to really kind of start ours, we noticed it was really easy to buy a ticket and give money, but not easy to find out what you're spending your money on. And so that's something we tried to change and work on a lot, and just be trustworthy to the person who's buying the ticket and saying, like, we can take care of you, is the main focus that we had a lot of times too. Whether it's from the ticketing website all the way down to the event and to the judges and people that we're hiring.
It's almost like you want it to be a customer-focused experience as opposed to feeling like you're doing the customer a favor. What a
pretty wild concept.
What a novel concept. Yeah.
It's pretty wild, but I think, some people will catch on eventually.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. We'll see. All right, Josh?
Oh, yeah, that brings up the question of obviously we're trying to bring awareness to what you guys are doing, and hopefully there's interest, and I'm sure there is. But so if I'm looking to come to Battle Hardened Los Angeles, what should I expect for what days are the events? What's happening on which days?
Yeah. So on Saturday, we have our Battle Hardened. We're kicking off the weekend with that, and doors open at 9. And so we have about an hour between there where players can come, check out vendors, kind of settle in, get entered into a tournament, explore the space, see the prize wall, and then we start right at 10 with our players meeting and then the first round and collecting deck lists. As
What
soon
format
as
is that?
it'll be classic constructed for both days. So we have Battle Hardened and Road to Nationals. So as soon as, depending on our player cap, because we have about 380 player cap right now, or 380 seats, if we fill it up, which is, crossing our fingers we do, side events will start at around the second round. So it gives us time to have players drop, and so we can have, player movement through there. But if we go a little under cap, then we can start side events right away, and they'll be on demand all weekend. So you sign up on a list, go up to the judging table, get entered, sign up, and then as soon as it's full, we announce it over the PA system, and then you go and pay, and then we get you signed up for your event and situated. And so that'll be on demand all weekend with Blitz, Classic Constructed, Draft, and Sealed. So you have all the different options of what you want to tackle. And so that'll happen for both days with side events, and Sunday will be our Road to Nationals, which will follow the same exact schedule. Doors open at 9, player meeting at 10, starting at 10:05. And so we tried to be very clear of, like, we're doing this here. If you look on the website, we have the venue information as well of, like, which hall, how do you get there, where do you park. And so hopefully there's no ambiguity and we don't have to ask someone who's working for the event, when do we show up, what do we do, all that kind of stuff. And so if you go to the main site, you can see on the front page, right smack dab in the middle, the schedule, prize payouts, and all of that as well.
The one question I have from my experience of going to New Jersey that a lot of people had questions for, that I think by and large was handled pretty well, but it did bring up a lot of questions, is if you're in the calling in day one, the Battle Hardened on day one, you don't know whether you need to sign up for the Road to Nationals or register for that, because you don't know if you'll be making day 2 or not. So will there be an opportunity for players who are in that event to then schedule, or is there going to be a risk that the calling or the Battle Hardened is capped and then the the Road to Nationals is capped, and somehow you don't make day 2 and you're out of luck?
Yeah, thankfully, Battle Hardened is a self-contained event, so it's just one day, and we have 6 rounds, cut to top 8, then a winner announced. So even if you win all the way through Battle Hardened, you still have the opportunity to play in Road to Nationals the next day. And so even if you feel like you're maybe unsure, you can always register day of event. We have vendors or our registration booth, so you don't have to worry about it. And then as soon as we get closer to caps for different events, we'll announce that on Twitter and on our website as well. If you're thinking about it, now's the time to be buying. Because I know it really sucks as a player when you're, like, unsure about what's going on with the tournament and just, like, should I sign up and just maybe throw money down the drain, or take that risk, or just not buy and feel bad later. So I think a lot of the conversations we'll have today is about communication, basically boiling down to being very, very clear about what's happening. But if you want to do both, you are completely safe to do so because there are self-contained one-day events for the Road to Nationals and Battle Hardened.
Okay.
Yeah, so that actually is, I mean, that's a great point itself, that they're self-contained, right? So, yeah, fair enough. Because I was actually going to ask about capacity, right? So, like, let's say, because you said you're capped at, I just wrote down 380, I think that's what you just said.
Yeah.
So, let's say you do get 380 signed up on Saturday. Does that mean you still have space to run side events as people drop? Or is it, is it literally just a trade of like, hey, we know that we used to have 120 table, well, actually it would be half of that, right? So right, because that's the way math works, right?
Yeah.
So now we used to have that many tables, and now we have minus 10 tables. So now we can run 10 tables worth of side events. Is that how it works? Or, let's say you have 380 people register for the main event, and 200 people show up just for side events. What's the overall take there?
Yeah, so that's the challenging part with space for the event is we have 380 seats total. And so we wanted to max out the event, and then as the tournament goes on, the way it works out is basically it's a single elimination tournament. Since it's a one-day contained event, you can make it as X1, basically, and you have to lose in the last round. So at any point during the rounds, Battle Hardens usually work out to be single elimination. So as soon as people take the loss, we're hoping and estimating that people will drop and then go do side events. That opens up tables for more seats. But as we get closer to the event, if we get closer to maxing out the capacity, we'll let people know our updated side event schedule of like, hey, we're estimating it's starting at noon now, because we're going to be 3 or 4 rounds in, so we know that people will be dropping eventually, and then we can open up tables for side events. So that's something
that makes sense. And you're just going to do that like via Twitter, or maybe microphone at the place, I suppose. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, through Twitter and also on our website continuously. So if people want to find out anything, we have basically our direct line through our website and Twitter account. And so people know exactly where to go. We don't want to fracture a bunch of different sources. It's just going to be Twitter and website.
No, I like it. Like you said, that's what, I love your guys' primary philosophy, which is communication, right? Sounds solid to me.
Yeah.
Sounds solid to me.
Here.
Yeah, so, I guess kind of the overarching question then, I think, for today is, what are you guys really approaching different? Like, what are you doing different? And what are you doing different that you think will enhance the large tournament experience?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to this event, the easy thing is to see what other events are doing and then start there. And what we tried to do is we have a lot of experience on our team of going to different events and for different games and different venues, and we kind of took our experiences and then broke them down from there. So we started with the individual components and then see what is the baseline of what would be good and would be an enjoyable experience for someone going, and then how do we make that better after we hit that baseline. So with the main event, starting with even just simple table numbers of just making them really nice and easy to read and clear and just having them designed to be upfront there. And then how do we maneuver players through the area? Where does registration go? Where does the judges go? And kind of how do we orchestrate this big ballet of an event? And then going further into that, we started thinking about side events, which is another big component of these events. Some people just show up to do side events.
I think it's more than a big component. I think it's a huge component. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think it's basically 2 events, running side events and the main event. And so for side events, we wanted to see what were the main complaints of side events at a lot of events, because it's really hard to do it right, and it's really easy to do it wrong, I think, for side events, because it's constantly moving in terms of where the set is at in the game or what the player bases like to do and kind of where you're at in that different cycle. So right now we're looking at Uprising, which is the new set, and so all of our side events are Uprising. So Draft and Sealed, and then CC and Blitz, we're kind of looking at how that's going to shake up. And so as we went through that, we started looking at, like I said, the complaints of players, and one of them was ticketing, which we know is a really big issue. And that sometimes it's just fine. People take it as just kind of like the cost of doing business of just sometimes it's not a great experience, or we just deal with it because we just want to play the game. And it's just like people treat it as like this side benefit. So for us, we wanted to make it really clear. So for our events, we're doing a really simple ticketing system where it's a single elimination, 3 rounds for each of our side events. And then the payout is first and second. First gets 12 tickets. Second gets 4 tickets for most of our events. And 1 ticket is equal to 1 Uprising pack. And so we value those packs at $5. And so that's kind of our base monetary system for ticketing. And so when you want to purchase something or go through the prize wall, you kind of divide everything by 5. So let's say you want to buy a pack of Dragon Shields for $15, something like that. It's 3 tickets. And so when you look at it that way, you're basically trading packs for, different things in entry. And how we make the money to pay staff and run the event is that we're valuing it at $5 instead of $4, which is retail. And so that's kind of a long-winded way to go through our ticketing system, but to make it really simple. So when a player wins, it's like I have 12 packs. We give them 12 tickets, and then they can redeem it for packs or whatever. And so the innovations that we try to push forward right now, and we're starting simple, is the thing I'm excited about is using tickets to re-enter events, which is what I know not a lot of events do, because they want you to kind of be in the ecosystem of, you're just moving cash through it so you can redeem it for product. I think it's more interesting from a player perspective to go infinite, right? To have that, I'm just winning drafts all day and I'm just going infinite and just entering. And so things like that is what we want to focus on and make really clear to players and make it so that it's like, I won a draft side event and I get 1,500 tickets and then everything is just weird. It's like kind of funny money. But that's kind of where we're starting right now with like side events.
I see. So you're basically you're using real dollars in whatever value system that you have, right? Whether someone agrees with it or they don't, that's a different story. But you're using real dollars as your value system, as opposed to, like you said, like the online free to play, buy this monetary thing that you don't know what it is, and your play meta is worth 40,000, right? Yeah. Fair enough. So,
it's something that we're trying and looking into of like, what does it look like to possibly, if we do more events, carry over tickets from event to event. I know that's something players wonder a lot about, of like, it's just self-contained and then basically at the end of it we throw away our tickets. Because one of the things that we learned was that about 30-40% of the tickets earned during an event are not redeemed, which is kind of the intention, right? Of just,
is that real? Is that a real statistic? I actually had no idea.
Yeah, that's what we've heard from different organizers.
No joke.
Events.
That's huge. Because if you value that at some monetary, they certainly value it at whether it be 80 cents or $5. That's pretty big, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of, where a lot of the incentives come to kind of dilute ticketing systems into making it a little bit maybe harder to redeem, or maybe a little bit like harder to earn tickets, because if you're shooting for like the big playmat, that's like 2,000 tickets and you end up at 1,100, it's like, just maybe buy a pack or two and then just go home.
Interesting.
So we want to bring that to where players can cash out easier. The incentive structure for us is to make players cash out and get the products that they earn with the event. So whether that's just through pure packs or prizes or, whatever we have at our prize wall, we want to bring that number down because it obviously helps monetarily from the perspective of the business side, but from the player experience, I feel like it lessens that experience, where if tickets are being just thrown away at the end of the event, it just feels bad from the event or the attendee perspective. And so that's something we're looking to make a little bit smoother and less frictionless from the attendee side.
Interesting. No, actually, not interesting. That's exciting. Go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
I was going to say that's one thing. I've been lucky enough. I've been able to travel with groups of people from Houston. So if somebody is short on tickets, we can pitch in, and it becomes kind of a community effort to make sure that Matt gets a really nice play mat. But I could see how people who don't travel in groups and don't have a way to use those tickets in that way to be like, oh yeah, here's 100 tickets. Go get your mat, get whatever you need. I could see how it's very easy to to have leftover tickets that I don't have enough to even buy a pack because I only have 50 tickets, and it's like 80 tickets to get X, Y, or Z, and it just not get used.
Yeah, and side events by their nature are just kind of notoriously difficult to win because it's just like your kind of rapid sit and goes kind of pace of the events where it's like first and second, but there's 6 other people there in an 8-man pot of drafting. So anything you can reduce to kind of that variance in, I guess, feel bad moments is kind of what we're shooting for. Because not everyone will win side events.
To really that point, though, you said you're only prizing out first and second, right?
Yeah.
So if you were to move to because doesn't the Joshua, don't the events now do tickets per win, something like that, and then there's like a scaling, or is that not correct?
It depends on the event. I don't recall exactly for the format for like the sealed or because I did do a sealed event, but I do know like on one of the special events it was a pack per win, and it was extra, or not pack per win, it was I think 50 tickets per win, and then there was a bonus if you're the one who went either 4-0 or 3-1. I don't remember the exact structure, but there was something for entering. It may not equal what it cost to enter, but there was something as far as
sure. But I can see in a, like you were talking about, like an Uprising, like I can see in a draft or limited format where you leave with the cards that you still paid for. I can actually see the flip argument there. But if it's a Blitz or something that, if I place 4th, like I'd still like a pack from my, or not a pack from my, you know what I mean? I'd like something for my win. But yeah, that's interesting to figure out.
I actually kind of like the clarity of that though, because with this system is I like doing limited formats that I know if I do a sealed format or a draft, I'm going to get the cards that I drafted, and then if I lose, I'm probably going to just sign up for another one because there's nothing left for me, which actually creates more side events that I think that would incentivize me to go play some more.
And so that's something we're experimenting with, of like there's that discussion definitely of like pack per win or be first and second payouts. And so we want to try this time of first and second payouts with single elimination, where the benefit of that is that you fire more events so people can get into events faster instead of waiting around. And I think that's just the trade-off we'll make. And then we'll see at the end of the weekend, because we want to definitely do surveys with players and talk to people and see how that felt to them. And so that's something we had a long talk about, of just like, do we do pack per win or do we do top heavy, first and second, battle all the way through, single elimination style? And I'll have the answer after.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. What I like the most about it is that you're trying something different, whether it be good or bad, whatever. You're trying something different with a approach that you want to see as a player, or I should say your team wants to see as a group of players. And if it doesn't work, you'll figure it out later, right? I mean, It's better than just having a policy and saying, screw you guys, see you later. I don't know a better way to say it.
It does bring up a question. I don't know if this is something you guys accounted for, but this is a system that I am guilty of having completely abused at Star Wars Destiny Worlds. Well, there was a system where you can have an 8-man draft pod and you guys sign up and then just say, okay, we're going to split the tickets. And then about 30 minutes after we signed up, we turn in our draft slip and then sign up for another one. Is that something you guys take in consideration about how you guys are organizing how the prizes will be dealt? Do you guys care if people do that? Do you think that would...
No, I don't see an issue with that. I think if players want to see it that way, it's like basically have 16 tickets in a pod, and then we assign that 16 tickets to the pod. So however they want to split it up or do it, let's say there are 8 friends who come together, they can just enter a draft and then split tickets however they want. We're totally fine with that if they just want to walk up to us and be like, hey, or a group here, we want to draft, and then we can just give them the tickets at the end and they can distribute it. And so, having that system, or the way it's set up right now, makes it so that's possible. And, I didn't even think about that till now, but that's, totally something that I could see a lot of groups doing.
And you don't mind, as long as, everything's agreed to by the...
Yeah.
Well, if they have everything on a value system that's still profitable for them, why do they care if everyone else is maximizing their value, right?
That's fair.
As
Yeah,
long as
'cause
it's not
they're
hurting
happy.
anybody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different if like 6 dudes train roll or steamroll 2 dudes, but you know, I actually I kind of like the philosophy of their system. I'm gonna be
Yeah, the
honest.
thing I know that I would do is that if we did that with my friend group and I drafted the most insane deck, then I would go double back on it and say it's only first and second. Like, I'm not doing this.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah, my deck is too good, guys. Sorry.
yeah, I'm that guy in that group. No, but yeah, so that's something we're going to be paying attention throughout the weekend because I think with running events, it's not so much to just run it, but to see how it did after and be honest about what worked and what didn't work, and then take that to the next one. Because it's not just an experience for you; it's an experience for the attendees, and they know what they like and know what worked well and what didn't work well. As much as you have, your beliefs, it doesn't pan out sometimes.
Mhm.
I always enter a lot of like whenever it's work or personal life, it's entering with strong beliefs loosely held. And so approaching an event like that of like, okay, we're going to be committed to this idea, see how it works, and then after the event is over, we can make decisions again.
That brings up another question I have about kind of what to expect for people who are coming to this event. I'm a big fan of sealed. I think a lot of people like sealed and or draft as a format.
Mhm.
But there have been product delays. There's been whispers about things being delayed or shorted. So
Yeah.
you're wanting to have product available for draft and sealed and for price support. Do you guys feel secure in what you guys have for that?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it. We've had allocations come in, and also again, the nice part of being in a community is we talk to our vendors, and if we somehow run out of product, they're like, we will absolutely give product for side events. We do not mind, and we'll sell you guys our stock. We don't care. We just want to have the event run, and people be happy with the events. So that's again the main benefit of that is that the vendors are working with us really closely, and it's a culmination of just different relationships and people wanting to see this thing succeed. So if it comes down to it where we sell out, then I'll see it as a good thing and also as something that we've had support from the other vendors and people in the community helping us out with. So hopefully we sell out of product at the end just perfectly. The last draft is the last box.
Right.
But I think we'll be okay on that front.
Yeah, and I mean, in your defense here, right? So I was actually going to ask similar question, Joshua, because I heard about 4 hours before we're shooting this interview. We're shooting this on Wednesday, which is 2 days before the Uprising release here in the U.S. We're hearing that one U.S. distributor has not yet shipped their stuff out yet, and that they're allocating. So, and hopefully that won't be a long-term thing, but anyway, that was where my head was at as well, because I just found that out. So, even if, though, in your defense, I'm asking and answering my own question, I get it, but right, even if in your defense you run out of available draft pods on Sunday at 2, that doesn't mean it was a failed event, right? Like that's actually kind of the opposite. So, there's going to be somebody out there who's butthurt and blows you up on Twitter because it's the intrawebs, but like that's not a failed event by any means, right?
Yeah,
So-
and I think the nice thing that I found about Flesh and Blood is that the community is incredibly informed a lot of times, for the good and the bad, sometimes. And, these stock issues are not invisible to players. Like, they could feel it at an LGS level, right? And they've heard it from their LGSs. So I think, if anything happens on that side, hoping not. Players are usually understanding. They're obviously disappointed and mad sometimes, but it's something that I've found as a positive of the community where they're incredibly informed. They're in Discords talking about it and, working with LGSs and being like, okay, our product is delayed. We'll get it to you next week and so on and so forth. So we've taken as much measures as we can to get a lot of stock in and work with contingencies. And that's all you can really hope for, right? And be prepared and just try not to be surprised about anything.
Yeah, no, I like it. So, Joshua, did you have anything else before I kind of ask my final question and let him get last words?
No, I think we covered all the things I was interested in.
Okay. So, my last question for you, Justin, is, if I fly down there and I leave, what is your hope that I walk away or fly away, whatever it may be, from the weekend with? What's your hope that my takeaway from the weekend is?
I think you mentioned last time, it's like having an event that you leave and you're like, they should do more of those. Like, I want to do more events like that. Those people should run it again, and be an example for people who want to run independent events and take it as a community level endeavor. Like I actually drove down to San Diego this weekend to talk with people down there, meet some judges, and meet the community down there. And we had a lot of people offer stuff for our prize wall. Like, I would love to donate to the prize wall and, be part of this. And seeing it as like a celebration of Flesh and Blood, I think, is one of the main goals too. So, when you walk away from the event, that's kind of what I want you to feel good about, is like we participate in something that hopefully will be spread to different cities and to different organizers and be used as an example. And, working with OP, Flesh and Blood's OP, it's like this is setting a precedent. Of like how you pay your judges, how you do this event, how you run this event. It's like setting a precedent. And so we want to put the biggest step forward and be, an example for other events.
I love that, because I agree. I mean, we talked about it last time, right at the end, that we hope community run events are going to be the future, right? If we're going to be long-term successful in the, grand scheme, right? So yeah. I think you guys are Cowboys, right? Everybody calls the USA people the Cowboys anyway, right? But you guys are Cowboys or the Scouts, whatever the term is. You guys are blazing the path, the Trailblazers. There we go. You're blazing the trail for everybody. And my babbling aside, we're really excited to see how things go down there. So, yeah. All right. Well, thank you for taking time again to join us and talk about this. Joshua, do you have anything to add before we get out of here?
No, I'm just super excited to hear how things will be going for you guys. I wish I could make it out there because I feel like it would be a blast to join and see what you guys are doing.
Yep, I am also trying to get down there. Traveling for events is hard for me in my phase of life right now, but I'm actually trying to get down there. So we'll see how it goes. But either way, Justin, any other shout outs or anything else you want to add before we close it out?
Yeah, I think one of the things we talked about is you guys doing a golden ticket program. So we're happy to give a couple tickets away for you guys to give away on your channel, social media, through your outlets. So, audience, be on the lookout for that.
Yep.
And
awesome.
Yeah, tell people about Battle Hardened LA. Go to battlehardenedla.com and, share with everybody. Teach your grandma how to play Flesh and Blood and then bring her down.
My grandma teaching Flesh and Blood. Let's not have her play Brute. That art's not going to go well with my grandma. I can tell you that right now. But that's great. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for spending your evening with us here. And I want to encourage everybody. I think the success of Battle Hardened LA is going to be very important to the future face of Flesh and Blood. I honestly do believe that in my core, which is why we're spending so much time talking about it here on the channel. So please go check it out. See if you can go. Do what's right for you. And, you got to say it with me, guys. Go Commando.
Go Commando.